to?
Hey Horror Hounds, today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/itslayspodcast. Let's get to the podcast. 5, 4... 2, 1.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
You sick fucks. You've seen one too many, bro.
I said, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Hello, Horror Hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
It's Exilia.
And this is your non-Whitney Houston Queen of the Night, Mike.
He's back, everybody. He is back. Technical difficulties sidetracked, at the very least.
My computer decided to off itself. My sinuses exploded. Was leaking everywhere through every orifice. It was awful. It has not been a good week.
This is why I'm hashtag Team PC.
Boo.
I'm just saying. Those damn MacBooks.
He's only had it for 1,000 years.
The fact that it's not just completely 6 feet under right now is miraculous. So let's just be grateful, okay?
I can't really say anything. I end up buying a new PC like every other year. But they're cheap. So,
I mean,
yeah, I guess
it's also highly wasteful.
The money I spend, I could just buy a MacBook.
And think of the landfills, okay?
Exactly.
The landfills.
Sorry, guys.
All the minerals they have to friggin' mine. Way to go, Rowan.
I'm sorry, guys.
You suck.
I'm sorry.
Jeez, Rowan always complains I'm not close enough to the mic, and now
I gotta back it away from her.
Now I'm so close. He's pissed.
Alright, everybody. It's time to get serious. You know what time it is. It's time for questions. As always, Mike and Exilia have no idea what I'm going to ask.
Oh, goody.
And just because he's back, we're gonna start with Mike. As always, I like to hit us with the desert island scenarios. This can be ever alternating, but right now, whether it's present, past, top 3 songs on your iPod. I don't even think people use iPods anymore. So I guess it's on your iPhone that doesn't have any service. So you can't just use Spotify, and that can't be your answer. Top 3 songs that you need to have on your desert island.
Okay, well, first of all, this is beyond Sophie's choice. This is now, I'm going to call it Rowan's choice, and I hate it. It's awful. How dare you? I'm not going to go with of all time or anything, because who needs that shit? I'm just going to go with, like, my kind of right now, like what I listen to a lot over the summer.
Yeah, it could be
or
that,
something
exactly.
that I'm really digging at the moment. My number 1 song of the summer is going on there, and it's Icy by Kim Petras. She is a fucking queen. It's a banger. It's a great angry breakup song. It's got everything. And, oh god, the new Lana Del Rey, obviously. The whole album, I could consider one extended conceptual song, but like, I don't know, I really love Mariner's Apartment Complex or Bartender, so it'll be a toss-up between one of those.
I'm only halfway through that album right now,
It
but
is
it's very
spectacular.
good.
It is a fucking masterpiece. It is the American album of the year, maybe even of the decade. Who knows?
Big words.
And, I mean, this is actually very, very tough, but probably I Wouldn't Ask You by Clairo. Because I listened to it when I was having a breakdown, and now it comforts me instead of making me anxious.
Well,
and
that's good.
Clairo is amazing. Anybody who hasn't listened to her, she is superb. What's the name? Immunity is the album. You can stream it if you want. It's on Spotify and Apple Music and all that.
I enjoy that as you're giving your answers, Exilia's paying zero attention, frantically writing her answers, searching her Spotify playlist.
Oh, well, now she's trying to curate what's going to make her sound cool.
Not at all. Not at all. Is it my turn?
Of course it is your turn.
No. Okay, so I'm doing it of songs that I I guess, have listened to over the summer, the songs I'm listening to now. All time, I can't do 3 songs.
So basically what that means is songs that I'm also forced to listen to at least 20 to 25 times every day.
Rowan is very upset that I listen to the same 5 songs for like a block of time. Sorry.
I do too.
Most people do, I'm pretty sure.
Exilia only has playlists that are like 20 songs
That's
long.
actually a lie. My playlist is currently like 700 and some odd songs.
Mine's
And you
like
skip
3,000.
over 680 of them.
I go to the end of the playlist because that's the newest.
The new, yeah. It's you gotta have a living playlist, though. You do.
It's like, what's that Kanye West, the Living album?
Oh,
Same
yeah.
playlist.
Like for Pablo.
Yeah, that's not on my list. Okay. Okay, the first song, these are in no particular order, but the first song's Dead Beat Boy by Avalon. I don't know anything about okay, also I find random songs on Spotify that I like the song and I don't know anything about the artist, and most of the time I go listen to the artist and I don't like anything else by them. Anyways, so Dead Beat Boy by Avalon, Black Ballerina by Ariel Pink, which is actually like an older song.
Oh yeah, Ariel
and
Pink.
Yeah, I love that song. I even got Rowan into it. Every time it comes on, I
love that
friggin'
song.
like jam. And Die in Shanghai, I have no idea how to say the name of the people. I think it's Los Avs. I don't know how to say it, but those are my 3 songs right now.
There you go.
I've been listening to most of them for like ever, but
Now I'm
all
on the
summer.
spot because I really didn't think of mine. This is what happens to every question. I don't actually ever think of my own answers.
He's
Well,
so
at least we're
concentrating
getting
on putting you on the spot.
A like unthought over answer. We want just you to like spill it Freudian couch style.
All right, so oh geez, this is hard. So as always, because no matter what kind of mood I'm in, what kind of season it's in, so I always go back to these tried and true. Basically, I just repeatedly listen to songs from Closet Monster. So
It's
true.
It's flawless. It's a flawless movie and it's a flawless soundtrack.
So this is really where it becomes difficult for me because if I could just say that entire thing, then I'd be all right.
And
But
you'd
I
be a
said
cheater.
Yeah, exactly. So I said 3, so I'm going to pick 3. Number 1 would be Ecstatic Truth by Crystal Fighters. That's probably my favorite song from Closet Monster. It's not actually on their listed soundtrack. It took me months to find out what that song was. I needed to know so badly that I posted on the Closet Monsters like Facebook page when the movie came out asking them what it was.
One time I actually private messaged a movie.
Oh my god, you're like,
movie
nudes
Facebook.
please.
I messaged their Facebook privately asking what a song was because like Shazam or anybody couldn't find it, and it's actually because it's like unreleased.
They responded though.
They did. They responded very promptly. What was it called? We Are Not Cats.
A
That's
horror
the name
movie
of the
that we
movie.
have to review at some point. It's on Shudder. And then, this is gonna be tough. So second, I'm going to go with basically Tishi.
Okay, this is also on that album or on
Yeah,
the soundtrack.
oh,
Are they
yeah.
all?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think. Yeah, Tishi, amazing. I feel like if you don't listen to Tishi,
Also, side note, Rowan and I saw her in Toronto perform, and we got her album signed for Mike, and
we
we
still have it.
So he will get that next summer.
It's something to look forward to. I love her. She's amazing.
yeah, and we got to meet her, and she was like super nice, super friendly, and yeah, just like great performer.
Luckily, the record was saved from when our apartment flooded.
Yeah, and now I have the difficulty of picking another song.
I am just like on tenterhooks here because it better be what I think it is.
I don't think it's gonna be.
Oh, how dare you.
I'm gonna go with Dark Allies, Light Asylum.
Oh, love Light
That's-
Asylum.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Light Asylum. The minute I heard that song, I downloaded like their EP album.
It's really good.
It's insanely good. I also follow them on Instagram and something else. I can't think of what else, but they have an amazing Instagram.
You should also very quickly plug what Closet Monster is.
Oh yeah, so Closet Monster is a amazing movie from Newfoundland. It's amazing. It's a LGBTQ 2 movie.
It's like a coming out story.
It's like a coming out story. It's like a fantasy body horror
comedy,
drama.
a dark comedy.
Yeah.
It's so many things in one.
It is absolutely amazing.
And it makes me cry every time.
Every time I cry when I watch it.
It's brilliant. And I mean, they even got like Isabella Rossellini to do a voice in it, which was like a coup. I mean, she's, a legend queen. We love her.
For Buffy the Hamster.
Oh, so good. So watch that. If I could ever make an exception on this podcast to watch a film that's not necessarily a horror film, it would probably be that.
Yes. And we got to see its, terribly short run of 1 week in the theaters here locally.
I think we...
Yeah, all 3 of us went to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
I thought I saw it twice in the theater. But...
Just one time. And it was right before I decided, or it was right as I was deciding that I was going to move to Toronto. And I was like, oh, I'm crying in the theater.
Did Jill go with us? I saw
that was Moonlight. I didn't go.
No, I saw it with Jill as well, though.
Maybe. I don't know.
I have no idea. But yeah, so that's it. I feel like we've been talking long enough. It's probably time for us to get into our first spooky October film. Spooky. The long overdue since we told everyone this was coming 2 weeks ago. But we did say we had some technical difficulties.
My life is a technical difficulty, okay? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Mike, would you like to announce what film we are doing this evening? Or today, or whenever you're listening?
Indeed, I will. It's a pleasure to introduce a film that anybody who is interested in horror movies has obviously seen probably numerous times, and anyone who has made a horror movie in the last 30-something years has probably tried to copy. And it's from 1984, and it's Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is that his name, Westaford?
No, I just like making up names for people.
Okay.
I like how she's very curious about that.
Just 1 second. I have to get rid of this spider.
Oh, God, no.
Just for our podcast listeners, we actually live in a haunted house full of friggin' spiders.
I can't think of anything that I hate more, except, like, racism.
My dislikes are racism and spiders.
I wake up with at least 3 spider bites every morning.
I would literally just throw myself in front of a bus. Like, full-on Final Destination splatter, rather than have a spider anywhere near my body.
I've thought about it.
All right, you hooligans. I'm reining you in.
You're the chairman.
I'm the chairman of the board.
I think you mean
Chairperson.
He's the ringmaster of the fucking circus. Because I'm a goddamn clown, so...
So let's get into the trailer. 1984, as Mike said, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's get into it. We'll be right back.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
We just see cuts happening.
What did that, Lieutenant?
I don't know. What's the coroner got to say?
He's in the John puking since he saw it.
They're gonna kill me for sure.
Did you do it?
There was somebody else there.
He was locked in a room with a girl who went in alive and came out in a rubber bag.
No one knows where it came from or who it will visit next.
Nancy? There's something wrong with you. You're imagining things.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Do you believe in the boogeyman?
No.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
No!
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails,
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
no one will survive. From Wes Craven, director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, a new masterpiece in fantasy terror, Nightmare on Elm Street.
And we're going to hit you with that IMDb bio as always. It is the monstrous spirit of a slain child murderer seeks revenge by invading the dreams of teenagers whose parents were responsible for his untimely death.
Yep.
How's that sound?
Is there ever a timely manner in which to set somebody on fire because they murdered and probably raped a bunch of children. I love how the death is untimely. Like, oh, this was a timely burning in a boiler room. This was timely, arson.
Horror hounds. Do you guys like horror music? I like horror music. Exilia likes horror music. We know Mike definitely loves horror music. So if you love horror music like we do, join us on Spotify. We have a playlist up called the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. We have some of our favorite tasty jams from some of our favorite horror movies, and we're always consistently adding to the list. And let us know. You can email us or Facebook or Instagram us and let us know if there's anything we should add to the playlist. Alright, so we'll start off favorite scene.
Oh my god, I forgot about this.
And guess what? We're gonna hit Exilia first.
Why would you hit me? I forgot that that's a thing.
I can go first.
Okay, Mike will go first. We'll give Exilia.
Okay, I know what it is.
Oh my god.
I know what it is.
Fight to the death over it.
Okay.
It's when the main girl, what's her name? Nancy?
I feel like this is where, like, screeching stops on a horror podcast as Exilia asks the audience what is the name of the lead final girl in, like,
I'm sorry,
the fandom of Final Girls.
I mean, I have seen this movie several times. I'm just not good with names. That's her name?
Nancy is her name.
Okay, good. I remembered. Okay. It's when she's like, oh my god, I look 20 years old. As in, like, that's super old. That's my favorite
Exilia
scene.
did laugh very hard when we watched this.
I was like, if only.
Well, yes, and she's sitting there with a young Johnny Depp. I mean, we're gonna ignore everything that's happened in the last few years. Just casually hanging out with his feet on her bed, and she's complaining about looking old, and I'm like, bitch, seriously.
She looks like a baby. Also, he looks so young. But we looked it up, or my dad looked it up. How old was he? 22 or something when they filmed this?
Yeah, I think this is also his first film credit. They scooped him up young. The only reason he got casted was because Wes Craven's daughter thought he was dreamy and said that they needed to cast him.
I have one other favorite scene. This was my favorite scene from when I saw it when I was growing up. The scene where he dies and there's like, he gets like sucked into that bed and there's just like blood everywhere, blood when they look up on the ceiling and everything. That was like my favorite scene growing up. That was like the most memorable scene for me.
Yeah, I love every scene in this movie. Jeez. Mike, how about you?
My favorite scene is from 10 seconds into the final 10 seconds. No. If only I could cheat. I mean, I have many. One of them is actually, I'm not going to do the two like X. I'm not going to cheat. One of my favorite scenes, and like I said, this is very tough, is actually when Rod is in jail, and it actually extends off of, what X was talking about, and she asks Johnny Depp to watch over her, and I just thought that was such a, like, I know it sounds stupid to say it was a dreamy scene, because I found the dream in that was a little bit less frantic and jarring than some of the other dreams, because, we were building up to something and she was just sort of exploring instead of being thrown in and realizing, oh fuck, I'm in a dream and, this guy is trying to kill me. And the way that it, like, collapses space and time in the dream, like, she's walking and then there's like a door in the middle of nowhere and then she's in another part of the city, and I thought that was so cool, and I've always loved it. And I love when, she wakes up and gets mad at him and then there's like the feather going out the window and she, and he jumps through the mirror in the door and they have their first little fight, which, I just always thought was, it was just a neat moment, because it was kind of like when she first sort of like stood up and took control, which, is one of the character traits that we love about her.
Like I say, you guys are talking about scenes, I'm just like, that's a great scene, because, man, so much of this is memorable and great. Ooh, this is really hard, especially since I was expecting you to go with the crop top Johnny Depp, but...
Listen, I said it was Sophie's choice, okay?
I thought it would be like a It Slays podcast drinking game, how many times we can talk about Johnny Depp in a crop top in one episode.
And track pants.
Ooh, this is hard because I do not want to cheat like Exilia as well. Exilia
I'm
is
just a cheater. I'm just a cheater. Whatever. I'm just indecisive.
Yeah, that's true. I am gonna go with, and I feel like this is probably a lot of people's one of their favorite scenes, but is her falling asleep in the school and, seeing Tina in the body bag. I love that scene. I love how creepy it is, and there's the guy in the front of the class, and
the Julius Caesar.
Yeah, and he's reading like Julius Caesar. I just love that. And we have, what's her name as the teacher?
Lynn fucking Shay.
I was like Shay. I was trying to remember if it was Lynn. Lynn Shay.
How dare you ask her name?
Dear friend of the show, Lynn Shay.
Yeah, Lynn Shay. If you don't know yet, I feel like we love anytime Lynn Shay shows up in anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter what she's doing. She could show up and just be skinning cute newborn puppies alive, and we'd be like, Queen, give us more.
Particularly Detroit Rock City.
Oh my
I was gonna say Dead End, but yeah, Detroit
Dead
Rock
End.
City.
Detroit Rock City. Her constant chain smoking in that is one of my favorite things in any movie. And her shakes. It's just so funny that she's in all these horror movies and is brilliant in them, but her comedic timing rivals anybody making multi-million-dollar movies. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's always amazing in everything she's in, and it's just she's so self-aware of herself, and it works. But yeah, that scene's my favorite. I just think it's to me, I think it's one of the most haunting scenes in it. It's just even now, I've seen this movie so hundreds of times, and that scene always is creepy to me. Yeah, I think that's definitely my favorite scene.
Can I add my mom's favorite scene from when she was a teenager?
Yes, because we did watch this with Exilia's parents.
They were pumped. My dad fucking got the popcorn out and everything.
Unlike The Perfection, Exilia's dad was all on board with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
He was even Googling information, everything. My mom was supposed to be doing work for some sort of conference and just watched the movie instead. Just kidding, she did her work. So my mom said the scene when Freddy comes through the paint of the wall, I think it was behind Nancy's head, maybe?
Oh, yes, yeah.
She said when she was she saw this movie when she was 15 years old. That's when it came out. And she saw that scene and she said, and I quote, "That scene scared the bejesus out of me when I was 15 years old and I saw this movie."
She did give us a good anecdote about how she was saying how when she saw it and she was
anecdote or antidote?
Antidote.
Oh no,
anecdote. Sorry.
To the drug.
I was like, what are you talking about? But she was talking about how that effect had never really been used, no one had seen it, and she was saying how it creeped her and all her friends out because they had never seen anything like that, which was an interesting peek, because when you think about black and white Frankenstein and these movies that I think younger generations just don't understand how anyone thought it was scary.
I actually thought it was pretty cool to watch it for the show with my parents, because they had seen it when it came out, when it first came out, and they did have that different perspective, oh my god, this never been seen, oh my god, this was so scary at the time. And so it was kind of interesting to watch it with them.
Yeah, it was a great quality family time. Yeah. All families should spend time watching Nightmare on Elm Street. Other memorable things in the film, I'm gonna throw something out there that's gonna be quite controversial. I know how many people love kind of that intro to Freddy, the I am God. I do not like that scene. The arms ruin it for me, where his arms get really long and he's scratching them against the fences. I get
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember that.
I just didn't think it held up very well. It looks kind of silly, and especially where, for this one and the second one, Freddy is still a very serious character.
Yeah, he's more mysterious.
Yeah, I just felt that those weird long arms kind of gave it this, like, ha-ha effect that I didn't necessarily like. Yeah, that's just my unpopular opinion on that.
Well, I mean, I guess it's because everything is practical and low budget. Some of it works and some of it doesn't.
And it's really to kind of, like, talk about that, like, I was thinking while I was watching this, it's whenever we watch, like, a movie that relies on practical effects, especially, like, you know, this is from 84, I wish more people did practical now, because, like, a lot of it really holds up, like, when we're talking, like, Exili's talking about, like, Johnny Depp's death and the blood.
It's like spraying
and, like,
everywhere.
They did that. They literally had a room, and it's just the way the camera, you see it on film, like, the room was actually the other way, and the blood was just pouring into a room.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's just like, it looks amazing. Just practical is the way to go. I think we've learned this by now. And it's great to just watch a film that's, you know, where we're out of the CG era, you know, before it. So it's nice to get those practical effects. And I mean, Mike, let's talk about the elephant in the room, young Johnny Depp. We need to get into it. I mean, amazing.
Oh, obviously. And again, we're in any talking about Johnny Depp that we do, we have to separate the art from the artist, or at least, you know, we can isolate him in the 80s for the time being and pretend like nothing else ever happened, except for some wonderful performances in movies that we love. But yeah, he does it. And by the way, every time I watch this movie, I appreciate another person in a Wes Craven movie that I love and is underrated, and that is Rose McGowan in Scream, and how, you know, she has that echo because she wears a very similar crop top jersey style shirt, except, you know, she is Rose McGowan and he was Johnny Depp.
I don't know what that's really trying to say, but...
Well, they fill it out differently, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Johnny Depp is wide in certain areas that Rose McGowan is not, and she is wide in certain areas that Johnny Depp is not, is what I'm trying to say.
He's saying that it works equally as good
for different reasons. Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, I think it's very interesting because I know after this film, I know history has not been kind to Johnny Depp's relationship to this movie. Yes. He's kind of not
History has not been kind to Johnny Depp.
That is also very true. But, you know, he's definitely not wanted any part of anything to do with this. You know, he's kind of done the, you know, I'm an artist and I'm kind of above horror thing.
I give it, when's the anniversary of this going to be? 5 years from now? He will be on that fucking train. He'll be shoveling coal into the furnace, like...
He might need that money.
Yeah, let's face it. He's probably going to have a lot of legal fees he has to pay.
Yeah, but to me, when I watch it, like, you can really tell, like, why he kind of took off. Like, I thought his performance was a lot stronger than most of the supporting cast.
I mean, he's clearly a good actor. Like, it's...
Clearly.
Except for when that guy says... Hey, guys can dream too, right? Or guys can have nightmares too, you know?
Yeah, you guys don't have monopoly on it.
You don't have monopoly on nightmares. That was great acting.
It was. Listen, I will give it to that guy, because when he's in the scene when he's getting chased down by the cops and he's, you know, just wearing whatever he threw on after leaving the murder scene, and it's just like a pair of jeans and a leather jacket and
bare
no
feet,
shirt
no
and
shoes.
bare feet, and they throw him down like chest first on the ground. I'm just like, oh god, I can feel it. That's like, you know, watching Tina get her, like, chest sliced open and, you know, blood flying everywhere. Not even as disturbing to me as his bare-ass chest getting thrown down onto the ground. Like, oof, I just can't.
I saw, too, that I'd read, but also in, like, any of the documentaries, I don't know what versions people are watching. I have, the box set. I think it was like a mass market box set they put out on Blu-ray a little while ago.
Yeah, it's all in one case, right?
All in one case.
Yes.
But they have basically, like, you know, the 6-hour documentary just split into sections for the movies. And I know they were talking about that it was extremely difficult to film with him, because apparently he had a lot of like drug issues.
Oh, okay.
So they were saying that he, because the whole movie he just looked sweaty, and they were like, yeah, that's like what he looked like when he would come to set, because he would just be like strung out or high, and like he hadn't slept in days, and
maybe he was method acting.
Maybe. The dad in this, amazing. I thought
John Saxon, yes.
John Saxon did amazing. Really, I say Johnny Depp did a good acting, but like obviously he's like a very prominent actor in it of name, and yeah, he brought some levity to the role. I think more importantly we should talk about the mother.
Oh, Ronnie Blakely, yes, please.
I don't know, I mean, I know she drinks a lot, but my only note about the mom is about her quarts of alcohol.
Oh my god, that frosted fucking bottle of vodka or whatever. My entire life I have wanted a bottle of vodka that was like that big and that frosted. Like it's beautiful, and when it smashes, the sound it makes is like ASMR.
Doesn't she also like sleep with her alcohol?
Yeah, I think there's a scene where she has it like...
Not that alcoholism is a funny matter, but I'm just saying like it.
Well, yes, I mean the last scene when Nancy's getting ready to go into the dream, and she like goes in and kind of like tucks her mother into bed because her mother's, hammered.
Yeah.
There is a giant bottle, because I actually made note of that on the nightstand. Like she doesn't even have it like poked away. It's just like, here it is.
Yeah.
And it isn't a funny matter, but I think it's funny kind of the way she chose to play it, because I really feel like I feel like she kind of didn't feel this was going to be something, and she almost played it like this comedically, like she's just very spacey, and it was an odd choice of portrayal, but it really worked because it was
it's
odd.
a little bit hammy, I think. Like,
yeah,
And
I also I kind of noted to myself that until you see her with the liquor, like I don't think we see her with the liquor till a little bit in the movie. So because when we're first introduced to her, she's like really spacey, but there's like no context for it.
Yes, yeah, and there is one scene before it's actually like outright like explicitly shown. I believe when she is in the kitchen and Nancy comes in or something, and you just see her like kind of push the bottle to the side or whatever. So if you're not paying attention, you probably don't even notice it, but you're like looking at it going like, she just put vodka in her coffee, like for sure.
Like I said, I mean, it was an odd portrayal, but I think it really worked. I mean, if there's anything we learn as horror people, it's that the odd can definitely work in horror.
Oh my god, yes. And she actually has a lot of like, I think, really interesting moments and like scenes and looks. I mean, we won't even talk about her looks. Her hair is just everything. But like, even just some of the shots of her are brilliant. Like the one when they're in the hospital and, the sleep clinic or whatever. And she's sitting down and she just like leans back in the hospital, and the way that she so hammily lights up a fucking cigarette and starts smoking it in the hospital, I'm just like, what a fucking icon. Like, she hammed it up so well. She's perfect.
Yeah, I loved her in it. I thought she played it perfectly. I figure let's not like beat around the bush. Let's get into like Robert Englund. I mean, icon, legend,
personal friend of the show.
Yeah, obviously very personal friend.
Yes.
I know he listens to every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hanging on. But without him, like this is nothing, I don't think.
Oh, well, I mean, see what happened with the remake? Like this is literally exactly what happens when you take him out of the equation.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
He is the X that, gels.
And he, from the documentaries and stuff, you can tell like how much he's really appreciated in that role because of how much he kind of brought to it that wasn't written in the page.
Yeah.
And especially because, everyone thinks of him as Freddy, but people don't really think of it as like before Freddy, like he's like this trained actor, and he's like a very serious actor. And it's like he takes this horror part and tries to almost, bring this, like, Shakespearean, like, tragedy, comedy, like...
Yeah, his approach to it is very, like, artful and thoughtful and intellectual. Like, he really appreciates it and, like, kind of finds the nuance in it. It speaks, volumes to why he is so important to it, right? Like, he really does, like, dig into it.
Yeah, and I kept thinking about the parallels of, like, people that kind of rise in horror and create these icons, like, to me, this is exactly like when we did Candyman and we talked about Tony Todd and like how he took that role that really was just kind of this thing that wasn't that well formed and turned it into this icon. Like Robert Englund did the exact same thing. And yeah, just like amazing performance down to the T. The only thing, and I mean for a first movie, you could tell he was definitely trying to find the voice, especially where Freddy doesn't really talk that much in this.
No.
A lot of the scenes are him kind of laughing and you know, grinding the finger knives. But he, you know, obviously as the series progressed, he kind of found his voice, and Freddy is most of the dialogue in the other movies. But yeah, just everything about him worked, and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing performance, I think.
What was he in stuff? Was he like in stuff before Nightmare on Elm Street?
Yeah, he was, I think it was all indie stuff, and I know he did like a lot of like play stuff. I think he did like stage stuff.
I feel like the only thing I remember him being in, like in terms of having read about what he was in, because I wouldn't have known, obviously, but I feel like he was in that show V, which was kind of popular.
Yes.
Like maybe as a minor role or something like that. Like that's the only thing I can remember reading about as being like pre-Nightmare on Elm Street.
You got me super excited there because I remember being younger and going to my uncle's house to watch that because my family absolutely loved V, and he was like the only one that had a large television.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, he was
massive. Very underrated.
Yeah, and he was kind of like becoming a thing after V. Like V was like a sensation.
Yeah.
And then, so it was definitely a risk for him to take like this kind of low budget horror movie, but it paid off, I guess. I mean, the man's eating off Freddy, that's for sure.
Oh, he will be. He'll die eating off Freddy.
So
I said eating off and not eating out, right?
Yes.
I mean, he could do
I just had a momentary panic attack.
So, go ahead, Exilia.
Well, I know that you're about to ask us if we have anything else to say, and I do
No,
have...
I meant scenes, other scenes.
Oh, I have one more pressing matter.
Yeah?
Were hall monitors ever a thing? They're in every friggin' American movie I've ever seen for high school, and that's not a thing.
We also asked Exilia's parents, and they said it was never a thing.
They said they never heard of it, besides on movies. Mike, did you ever have a hall monitor or a hall pass?
No, nothing like that. But then again, I only went to like small schools in small cities, so maybe in like, because that school is quite large, maybe that's a thing that they have to have in like a much larger building,
like bigger American cities or something.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it, we don't see schools in any of these movies or TV shows that are like, you know,
rural.
Yeah, no, exactly though. Like we don't have, you know, schools that only have like 12 classrooms in them. Like it's always this massive building. And, you know, it's like very anonymous and lots of students. So lots of fodder in our case if we're watching horror movies. So
our high school was pretty big in the way that it looked like in a huge like psychiatric hospital, but we didn't have that many people. And if anybody went to high school in a bigger city and you're listening, please tell us if you had a hall monitor. I'm really curious.
Exilia's very curious about this.
Genuinely.
No, but it's funny because in the like hundreds of times that I've seen this movie and other movies that have these tropes, it was only when rewatching it for the podcast that the thought occurred to me, besides the fact that the stunt woman who played her is clearly like 35 years old, was, what do fucking hall monitors do? Like, are they just, do their parents sign a form saying you're going to be in school for 4 years and never get an education because you're going to be wandering around making sure nobody goes to like have a cigarette in...
I was wondering that
it's
too.
like a peer thing.
Because they're never in class, so...
Ooh. How do you get that sweet job? My mom used to be a student police officer.
Like, it's like the same thing if you got like pregnant in high school and had to drop out. It's except you're working. It's like you are losing out on your high school education because you have to be a hall monitor. It's very like classist in a way.
It is. Well, and I should specify, a student police officer back in the day was basically just people at the dance who were like narcs and then just drank the alcohol that they took.
I was going to say your mom is an ideological state apparatus.
Pretty much.
Even more so that she took the stuff and drank it.
Yeah.
I did want to talk a bit too about, so as we get kind of towards the main confrontation with Nancy and Freddy, I really enjoyed in this viewing. I usually don't enjoy the scene where she pulls him out, because I always remember thinking, it's kind of like hammy, because it's kind of like Home Alone meets horror. Because she's got, like, all these traps set up, and, you know, it's, like, the sledgehammer to the gut, and the light bulb with gunpowder exploding. But this go-around, like, I really enjoyed it. I was, like, to me, I was wondering if that was almost, like, a precursor to kind of the comedy insertion into it, because I thought it kind of had that comedy tone, where, you know, he's very exaggerated, like, when he opens the door and he's coming out, and then it hits him in the stomach, and it's, like, over-exaggerated, him being like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really did enjoy that aspect with this viewing.
Well, he's a very physical actor, right? So it's kind of like him getting to do, like, a very over-the-top, like you said, ham-fisted, sort of like slapstick, but in a very horrific, violent setting.
Yeah, exactly. And I did want to say, I mean, we already talked about Robert Englund, but the kind of choice he's made that is kind of iconic, I think, in all of the films that came after, like, with him, he always kind of tries to do a scene where he brings the glove, like, up to his face, and he just kind of, it's an iconic image to me, where he's just kind of got them there in front of his face, and he's usually, like, smirking. I think, you know, bringing up sexuality is something that kind of gets forgotten about. I definitely forgot about it, because it's been a little bit since I've watched the first one, but, I mean, there's definitely that element to it that I think kind of gets forgotten. Like, Freddy is like this child, definitely a child murderer, but it's obviously very suggested, especially as the series goes on, we discover that he did, like, molest children. You know, there is some almost very heavy things going on about, like, Freddy attacking, like, teenagers, specifically, like, teenage girls. You know, there's definitely, like, some weird, like, psychosexual undertones.
He flicks his tongue so often just in this movie alone, and, like, to me that indicates that they are acknowledging it, even if they're not, like, explicitly stating it, because I'm sure that would have sparked an outrage or, like, fucked with their ratings or whatever. But, like, I feel like in very subtle ways like that, they do kind of acknowledge that, like, there is this sexual element that's not really being addressed, but is definitely, like, an undercurrent.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say, probably, to me, one of the most prominent things pointing to that is, like, the tub scene.
Yes, oh my god.
Where we have her, like, in the tub, vulnerable, and then we have, like, his hand coming up, like, in between her legs, and it's, like, slowly going into her.
That kind of... I've never seen the movie Teeth. That's the name of it, right?
Yep. Oh, God, yes.
I've never seen that movie, but the picture, I don't know if it's the cover, I think it is, but the picture from that movie, actually, the scene from Nightmare on Elm Street really reminded me. It's just, like, the angle, she's in the bathtub.
Yeah, well, it's the camera's kind of, like, between her legs and looking up at her face. Yeah. Yeah, I think they do use that for most of the promotional artwork for that movie. It's definitely worth checking out also.
But I feel like I said, like, talking about kind of that psychosexual undertone, I felt, I'm like, man, there's got to be, like, so many academic papers somewhere written on this, like, as an academic mind, I'm like, oh, this is, like, very interesting, and I'm very curious. Like, I was kind of trying to do a deeper read, a deeper watch this time, and I was wondering, like, because there's also kind of this undertone, I think, of, you know, with many horror movies, like, being a teenager and, like, the loss of innocence, and of course there's always a prominent thing about, like, virginity and stuff like that, because I mean, we are introduced that Nancy, Nancy isn't having sex in the house alone. Like, it's Tina that's doing that. Tina is murdered.
I think that's, like, a common theme in horror movies, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a very interesting...
Oh, yeah, that's like Carol Clover's...
Yeah, I'm not arguing. I'm not saying you're saying anything wrong. I'm just saying I think that's a common thing.
Yeah, well, and like I said, it's always interesting how it works in film.
Social control.
Social control.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, in this, it seems like, well, I mean, you know, it's like X said, obviously that's like a trope, especially in the 80s, especially slasher movies. And it's obviously written all about in Carol Clover's brilliant seminal Men, Women, and Chainsaws, but they don't play her up.
List.
Oh my god, I borrowed it from the library years ago, and they re-released it a couple of years ago then as a like anniversary edition with like a new preface and new cover art, and it's brilliant. Everybody should order it. Princeton University Press, I believe, put it out. But they don't imply in this movie that like she's a virgin. It does sort of, you know, imply that like they do fuck. They are just not doing it now because she's like, you know, I need to look out for my friends and I don't want to be distracted, which I know is sort of like splitting hairs, and it ends up having the same kind of like socio-political like moral implication. But I think it's kind of interesting that they do imply that like, you know, she's dating this jock, and you know, it's not like they've never fucked.
She doesn't want to get tired and go to sleep. So they're refraining for now.
Well, joke's on her, because she still falls asleep, so.
Actually,
and she doesn't even get to fuck, so it's like, you get all the negative things without the positive. Yeah,
joke's on her, because she missed out Johnny Depp in the crop top.
I mean, my actual worst nightmare is not being able to sleep. I love sleeping.
Okay, not being able to sleep. On that note, how many coffee machines does one family own? This family has like at least 3 or 4.
Oh my god, as a dyed-in-the-wool coffee addict, I admire their dedication to making sure they're always caffeinated. I truly do. And, you know, like that's a solid pot that she keeps in her bedroom. Like that coffee maker that's a good like 12 or 14 cup pot of coffee, so she's solid.
When I was in high school, a girl used to live with me and my family, and she didn't go to school or anything. She just like hung around the house in the daytime, and she legitimately drank 13 cups of coffee a day. My dad was pissed because she'd go through like a fucking canister of coffee like every 3 days or some shit. It was crazy. Maybe Freddie was after her and we just didn't know.
Maybe.
She knew that you wouldn't believe her.
Yeah.
So she just kept herself awake all the time. Whatever happened to her? Did she die a mysterious death?
No. No.
I didn't mean to sound disappointed just then.
Did she die while someone yelled Tina?
No.
Which I also love that scene. Tina! I love that scene. There's just like so much you can talk about with this movie. I did want to also bring up that I thought is very interesting. This is yet like another horror movie where I think, you know, we talked about the stereotypes and the horror tropes, but I think Wes Craven did a good job that, you know, this is another situation where he's kind of flipped it to the males aren't the strong ones in this film. Nancy is like the badass. The men are all kind of,
I mean, isn't
doofuses.
That kind of common? Well, like Final Girl, that's like comes from somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's there, but I think this is like a very early example of a Final Girl.
Also, and speaking of Final Girls, I just want to say, if you want to sign up for our Audible trial.com thing, a friend of mine had recommended me a book a couple months ago called Final Girls by Riley Sager. Just an FYI, if you're into Final Girls, you might like the book.
Oh, there you go. Exili's decided to just do a random audible.com plug for us.
I mean, I'm like almost done my drink from Maritime Express, and I'm just here for the random facts right now.
Okay. So that means Exilia might or might not black out. We don't know.
I'm definitely not going to black out. It's beer or cider.
I don't know what I'm drinking. But yeah, no, I was just going to say like...
I'm a professional.
Very professional. Yeah, I was just saying that, you know, it's an early example of like a strong final girl. And I think, you know, who better to give that to us than Wes Craven? I think Wes Craven is always, you know, 10 steps ahead of everyone else. So, yeah. And I mean, to me, that might be one of, you know, if we have any more points to talk about, one of them has to be Wes Craven. Just a reminder to follow us on all of our social media at It Slays Podcast. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, soon to be on Tumblr. Of course, we're on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're adding us on iTunes, don't forget to leave us an iTunes review. It doesn't even need to be 5-star. We appreciate 5-star. But the most important part is we want to hear from you. So write us a text review in the iTunes app, and we will make sure to give you a shout out on the podcast. Every review helps as it bumps us up in the search engine, and you know, that's what it's all about. Back to the podcast. All right, so we're back. We can tell listeners that there is at least like a 10-minute break in here because technical difficulties, but
again, my life, I have a fucking terror radius.
As I said, Wes Craven's looking down on us.
Westifer, how dare you? His name is actually Wes. Don't call people by their actual names, my god.
He said, you must keep talking about this. So, what I was talking about was Wes Craven. We need to talk about Wes Craven. I feel if anything should be taken away from this, if for some reason you're listening to this podcast and this is the first time you've ever talked about or seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm possibly looking at you, Cecily. I don't know if Cecily's into that stuff. Wes Craven. What, like, in the plethora of directors, like, probably in the top 3 horror directors of all time? I don't know. Anyone else's opinion on this?
Well, I mean, obviously we stand the shit out of him and we worship him. And a lot of people will point to his catalog and say how, you know, quote, uneven it is. But I feel like, not counting the people in, like, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s who were, like, pumping shit out contractually and stuff.
Yeah.
I think kind of, like, once you hit that, like, more studio-based model, that he still put out a lot more material than his peers. Like, I mean, you look at John Carpenter and he has a couple of, like, TV movies that are really good, but I feel like Wes Craven did a lot more, like, TV movies and put out movies with a bit more regularity, so there's going to be obviously some dips in quality, but I find, honestly, even his work that is flawed is just so enjoyable, and it's got such a, like, life to it, and he's such a fucking, like, thinker that they're always, like, really interesting intellectually. There's always something going on there that's worth, like, kind of pulling at, like, you know, threads that are hanging loose.
And I definitely recommend, we brought it up earlier, like, about how, like, the collection, and you can find it online all put together, but, like, the documentary, there's a lot of footage of interviews with Wes Craven. Like, listen to any interview with Wes Craven, especially if you're interested in kind of deeper reads of film and stuff, because he's definitely very friendly for, like, an academic or someone that really studies film, because Wes Craven is, like, a very intelligent man, and he really thinks about what he's writing. Yeah, like, he's all about finding a new thing, how to reinvent them. I mean, we're talking about a guy that, you know, went from The Last House on the Left to, you know, giving you something brand new with A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then literally coming in the 90s and revitalizing horror again with, like, Scream.
Yeah.
And, like, the guy is just a pure genius. I also thought, because we pointed it out in our Evil Dead episode about Johnny Depp's room, they're watching Evil Dead.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah. And it was not Johnny Depp's room, it was Nancy's room.
It was, yeah.
That was what she was watching to stay awake, and God love her. I mean, there's not really much more than traumatizing than an Evil Dead original version, or actually the remake, that you could be watching, you know, on a shitty TV, pulled up on a chair next to your bed at, like, God knows what in the morning.
It was definitely a friendly nod to the poster placement in Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And so I definitely like kind of that talk between directors and their films. But yeah, overall, just Wes Craven, badass, horror badass, rest in peace.
We miss him every day.
That might be a good topic at some point, is like our top horror directors. So, I'll keep that in mind. I'll continue to think about that.
Also, speaking of horror directors that we love and discussions, I think we should plug our friend Willow's brilliant essay that she published yesterday on Rob Zombie's film and like violence and trauma. You should check it out. It's on Film Notebook, I think it's called. But either way, if you search her, Willow McClay, it was a really good read, and I want everybody to check it out.
I will go in. I'll make sure that I post it on like the Facebook and everything. I haven't read it yet. I saw it. I was interested in reading it. So everyone check that out. Willow is always great, and she's a great writer, and she's very
just
smart,
brilliant.
Yeah, and knows what she's talking about, possibly more than we do.
There's no possibly.
Most definitely.
Most definitely.
I'm here like, hey, how can I fit in this thing about how the pillow in the tub was my grandmother had the same one. How can I fit that in?
And my discourse is like, can we edit out if I fart?
And I just try to keep the crazy gang together. So let's talk about, is it scary? Did we find this film spooky or terrifying?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I didn't, but I remember, so Nightmare on Elm Street, as you know on this podcast, if you're a regular listener, my parents don't ever like censor what I watched as a child, nothing. But they decided to not actively show me Nightmare on Elm Street until later on, I guess, until I was like maybe like 12 or something like that. And they said because they thought it was scary. I don't think it's scary, but yeah, there's my story. There's my story.
I will say, I think it's enjoyable. I also didn't necessarily think it was the scariest. There was definitely parts I thought that were very effective. I thought Freddy in this one was actually pretty terrifying, especially as we get into that kind of finale where he's in the real world and he's still kind of wreaking havoc. I loved like the scenes where the father comes into the house and we see like the footprints on fire and we don't really know where he is. Yeah, like, so I didn't necessarily think it was overly scary, but I think definitely for maybe a new horror viewer or something, it definitely packs some terror in it. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, for a kid. Well, I mean, you know, and of course I saw it when I was fairly young, and while it didn't terrorize me or anything like a couple other classics did, I don't know, it was pretty creepy, and I have sleep issues, I always have, and I remember from a very young age, you know, when I get sick and have fever dreams and stuff, like, my nightmares would always, like, really affect me, so I got it, and this movie, you know, before it turns into, you know, more of a, like, kind of comedic over the top, it does have a nice creepy atmosphere. I wouldn't call it scary, but the ideas are there, and I think that it's well executed, and it could leave an impact and an impression on, you know, an inexperienced or younger viewer, as you said. So, like, I feel like if it's like some 12-year-old watching it for the first time, they probably would find it pretty scary.
And I think kind of time's proven that. I mean, this movie continues to be a massive movie and important and old and new, like, horror fans and viewers. So are we comfortable to go into rating it?
Absolutely.
All right, Exilia.
You want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay, since I'm a cheater, as they call me, I'm going to have 2 ratings. One is for me personally, and one is just for the world.
I love how you disdainfully refer to us as, like, slagging you off and calling you a cheater, and then just turn around and admit, and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm owning up to it. So for me personally, I mean, meh. I'm not going to give it a particular yay, nay, or slay. Nay, yay, or slay. It's like, I've seen it many times, you know, if I never see it again, I'm okay. For the world, I think it's like a very important horror movie, and there's like, it's iconic, and there's like a lot to be said about it. In that way, I would give it a slay. But for me personally, I'm okay. It could be nay, okay, slay, yay, or slay.
Yeah, no, it's not that. So is it a yay or a nay?
I mean, I never gave it a nay. I would give it a yay.
Okay.
For me personally, I'm not going to give it a slay. But You decipher.
Send all hate mail to her, not us.
I'm like actually just on this podcast to be like the unpopular opinion.
You are a contrarian.
Yes, in that you are. I'm gonna give it a slay. I think I love this series. I think this, as just a horror fanatic my entire life, this series is like so important. This film is so important. It's iconic. There's so much iconic stuff that has influenced horror movies still today. I think, like we said before, it's just like a real true genius of Wes Craven to be able to brain this idea of like a slasher that can kill you in your nightmares, and it's just so unique for its time, and it's still unique. I don't think anyone's really pulled it off other than him. So it's definitely a slay for me, like, there's no question. Mike?
Of course, this is one of my personal movies that I can't divorce, my history from my, like, critical faculties. Slay, exclamation point, of course. I think it's such a great example of, like, a teenage girl's, like, descent into hell, right?
Yeah.
And I just love everything about it, but I was watching it and I was like, it does seem hellish because she's going through trauma, and it's not a body count movie. Like, the rest of them became that typical 80s Friday the 13th style body count, like how many can we cram in and how crazy can they be. There's only like a handful of deaths in this movie, and all of them are like characters that you like and are well drawn out, and like the actors are charming. So
yeah,
to me it's just one of the few movies that really kind of nicely sketches out that, watching your friends die, it's not just a bunch of randoms. Like, they feel real, and the acting in it is so naturalistic that you kind of feel like they're real people, and that these deaths have impact, and, that the murder is as horrible as it actually is. So I've just always appreciated that, and it feels more personal. This film does.
Yeah, and like you said, like, it's important to bring up that there's really not that many deaths in it, and the pacing works so well in it.
Yeah.
So, like, it was definitely executed amazingly. So I think it's that time. It's been a little while since all three of us played the budget game.
Oh, great.
Exilia played last episode without Mike and still failed somehow.
I won by default.
So I will say how much it made. I only have the US numbers because that's all that's posted of it, which is odd to me. So let's do what it cost. How much do you think this film costed to make?
$5 million.
We got a $5 million.
I was gonna say like 30.
30 million in 1984.
I don't know. I can't. I have trouble with numbers and inflation.
Okay. And I know. I have no concept of this.
So not by default, Exilia will win this round. $1.8 million was the budget. It was not
I thought
a
it would
huge
be more
budget.
Than that.
No, it was only 1.8. So let's talk about to successfully have made a film this good on that budget. Very well done. And I mean, it's also important to talk about that this was New Line Cinema's first...
Oh, it was their first film, yeah.
...dive into actually making a film. They were scrounging for money. Like, they were talking about how while they were making it, like, they didn't know how they were going to pay anyone because they didn't have money, and they kept having to take, like, meetings and get investors because they just didn't have the money because they were this tiny company. So let's talk about what it made. What do you think it made?
$130 million.
$130 million. Mike.
75. I'm now going back in the other direction. I'm now being very conservative. Because if there's anything anybody knows about me, it's that I'm conservative.
So Mike will take this one. So I've got two numbers for you. So this is the US box office.
And that's what I was referring to, by the way.
Yeah. So in 1984, it made $25.5 million. Now I do have the inflation number for that. So the inflation, it would be $65.7 million.
That's actually like considerably less than I thought it would make at the time.
I think, I also think, like, 1984, like, horror movies weren't, like, you know, making $100 million.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's only a budget of 1.8, so they literally made their money back, like, 20 times over. And they made so much...
25 times over.
Well, no, because 1.8.
Oh,
so.
yeah, that's right. Sorry. I'm not a mathematician.
So, I mean, they made enough money that they immediately greenlit, like, while the movie was coming out.
Yeah.
Basically. They greenlit the next one. Hey, are you interested in becoming a horror hound? Then join us at www.patreon.com/itslayspodcast and check out everything we have to offer. We have cool things from podcast shoutouts to picking movies all the way to maybe getting yourself a free t-shirt. So if you're interested in joining us and becoming a horror hound, join us at patreon.com/itslayspodcast. So yeah, that's the budget game. I figured we would mention, if you're listening to this, you probably already know that this is the first of the It Slays podcast Spooky October.
Ooh, spooky.
So you will be getting an episode next week. You're getting an episode every week. And next week, do you know what movie it is, Exilia?
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. We're gonna hit you with that family-friendly, fun, spooky time.
I think they say bitch in it, just...
Oh.
I was gonna say, you know, my discussion of it is not going to be family-friendly. Just spoiler alert, it's not.
Spoiler alert.
Watch the movie,
Mike,
don't listen to the
spoiler
podcast.
alert, Mike is gonna ruin your childhood.
So I think that's everything for this. I think we covered everything. We're going to be back next week, and we will see you then. So as always, I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Exilia.
I'll see you on the other side of this cold medicine high, Mike.